Welcome to the Empowered Women Life Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Karen Bashford. This podcast is for every woman who has ever felt limited by her past, silenced by trauma, or held back by society's expectations. Each week, we will share powerful stories, expert insights, and practical tools to help you become the leader of your own life. Today, I'm going to be talking on the subject of self-love, self-care, self-awareness. In other words, putting yourself first before anyone else. Now, that might sound slightly selfish, but it's not. I became aware just how little care I was physically giving to myself when I realized that I didn't actually love myself. I didn't respect myself enough to see that I was as important as my family, who I would be always giving to, particularly my mother. It was only in the realization that I didn't care in the way I cared for my mother, for myself. So what does that say about me? And I'm so very aware that a lot of my clients are like me, or how I was. And that is lacking that self-discipline to put what is necessary for me to show that I am deserving of being as respected and loved as much as anyone else. My background is very much the lack of love or demonstrable love from my parents as a child. That demonstration of hugging and being told I was loved was missing. That taught me that I wasn't worth loving. And if you don't love yourself, how can you love other people in the right way? Now, I say the right way because I do know that my partners, whilst they were physically and emotionally abusive to me, were seeking love just as much as I was, but we didn't know what love was. We didn't know that love was the expression that we should have heard, I love you, or the hugging that we should have received that showed that we were loved. Now, there's no right and wrong to this. I know my parents were just continuing the story of my families, of their parents, of their great-grandparents, and so on. So there's no judgment here. It's just awareness. When you love and respect yourself, you place boundaries up. You know what is acceptable to you and what isn't. Now, that doesn't mean to say I'd have rejected my parents just because they didn't love me in the way that is normal, or as normal as possible, i.e. the demonstration of love, of hugging and being told. But it would have perhaps made a difference to my life had I known. And yes, I appreciate we learn from our past. And I teach that and I demonstrate and I speak about it continually. But that doesn't stop the fact that if I'd known that I was reacting to the lack of love, I would have been different. Hindsight's wonderful. And I'm not saying that I wanted that now. That would not have made who I am. That would have created somebody entirely different who perhaps wouldn't be sitting in front of this video or recording this podcast had I experienced that, because my life would have been a different path. But when you learn to love and respect yourself through self-awareness, you make different decisions. You can see things from a different perspective. You perhaps choose to put yourself first over everything else. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I would say here, nobody ever needs fixing. I certainly didn't need fixing when I realised that my parents didn't love me. I didn't realise that I didn't need fixing when my partners were abusive to me. I didn't realise that in loving myself, I could change my life. That only came after I started recognising how much time, energy, and emotions I was giving to my mother to support her without receiving support myself from others. That's a big realization, that had I received that support, that perhaps I wouldn't have gone into a nervous breakdown, that my life could have been different. But I'm not regretting. Definitely not regretting. Regrets do not serve. The lessons I have learned from realizing just how much the lack of love from my parents had impacted me has made me who I am. And I'm exceedingly grateful for that. To be able to live your life fully, you need to value yourself. Valuing yourself means that you give time to yourself, that you recognize what you give is worth something. And you do so because you want to, not because you're seeking validation from other people. Validation from others means that you believe that they are more worthy of having a say over your life than you do yourself. I constantly sought validation from the people I knew, while at the same time I rejected love. Because I did not know what true love was, I did not realize that the help I was being given was given in love. And because somebody wanted to give that love to me through their actions. I only came to realize that after my nervous breakdown, when I had friends reaching out to me and saying, "Are you okay?" Now, I'm the kind of person, and I will constantly say this, who hibernates when I'm hurting. It's my way of coping. And coping is something we all do simply because we have to. Yes, I will reach out now when I'm struggling to friends and say, this is what's going on, and just have them listen to me. And that's all I want, is somebody to listen. I don't want somebody to be telling me how to fix myself. I don't need that. I just need somebody to listen to me. And with somebody listening to what I'm saying, I become aware of what I'm thinking. And becoming aware of what I'm thinking means that there is something behind that thinking that is harming me. Sorry, I've got a cat. I have a lovely puddy cat, and she tends to leave her cat's hair all over me at times when she gives me cuddles. And I can feel one tickling my face. Anyway, so I've forgotten what I was saying. Oh well. I have truly forgotten what I was saying. That shows how live these are. There's no pre-planning or anything like that. They are literally coming from my thoughts, my actions, my processes. And that's what we all have, is the thoughts, the actions, the processes that we rely upon to cope. Hence what I was saying, that talking through enables us to realize what we're doing and what we're thinking and what's behind it. In knowing that there is something behind my need to hibernate, and that's not just because I'm feeling overwhelmed by what I'm doing or anything like that. That overwhelm would have come from something that would have happened previously in my childhood that has triggered my need to hibernate. So in loving yourself, you get to know what you're really thinking, what you're responding to emotionally, and how you can make adjustments by releasing, by reviewing, reflecting, and reframing if necessary. You can also choose to stop the negative thoughts from coming in the first place. And that's what overthinking is basically. You've put yourself in a situation, oh, there's another fur, in a situation that has you thinking you can't do something, or you don't know enough, or that you're uncertain of what the outcome will be. So you start overthinking the possibilities. And when you're overthinking, there will have been something in the background that would have caused you to feel that you need to react emotionally and with your thoughts to whatever's going on in your life. Self-awareness creates self-love, creates respect for self. You make choices and decisions from an empowered place rather from a place of fear. Fear is part of overthinking. Fear is the need for validation, to say you're doing okay, when in fact, you know you're doing okay. It's just your thoughts have got the better of you. Self-trust is something that I didn't have. I would make decisions and then think they were all wrong, that I shouldn't have made that decision. But there was nothing I could do. Having made that decision and committed, it meant that I couldn't backtrack. I would have to find another way round the problem. Whereas if I trusted myself first off, I wouldn't have made the same decisions that I made that then caused further problems. They were mistakes, and you learn from mistakes. And I certainly learned from my mistakes. But I wasted so much time, money, and energy on making decisions that were not right. Whereas if I trusted myself, I'd have heard my inner guidance. I'd have heard my intuition tell me this is the right decision, or that's better for you, rather than just assuming that my decision was right because I listened to what my ego was telling me, which is basically everything I'd experienced through my life and the beliefs I'd created about myself that caused me to assume that I knew what I was doing, which then led me to more pain, more trauma, more hurt. And even though I say I don't do regret, there were times when I did regret making those decisions. However, thinking it through afterwards and why I made those decisions, I understood and therefore could release any regret. For you to be able to understand yourself, your decisions, and your choices, you need to become more aware of what you're thinking. And there's so many programs we run in the background for us to react to people, to react to situation and to events that we do without even thinking. With self-awareness, you can choose to make a different choice. Now, I say that because I'm very much into the idea that taking time before we speak gives us time to think, is this really what I'm wanting to do, to say, or is there something better? And it's a matter of seconds for you to question yourself and allow your inner wisdom, your intuition to come in and say, this would be better. Or perhaps you need to say this instead of what you're thinking of saying. Now, most people who know me know that I can be quite abrupt and decisive. I tend to say what I think, and I'm not somebody who sugarcoats. So that serves me because of the nature of what I've been through. I have been hurt so often by the lack of consideration from family members and such that I'd much rather say now what matters and to say it in a way that's true to me rather than sugarcoating. Now, that doesn't mean to say I don't say it without thought or care. It's just that this is who I am. And in sharing this, I'm demonstrating self-awareness. I am told by clients and friends that even when I am abrupt or decisive, it's done with love. It's not that I'm deliberately going out to hurt or anything like that. It's just that for me, I'd much rather be clear and precise than waffle, or, as I say, sugarcoat. I don't believe that in sugarcoating, I'm serving you, my clients, or my friends. We are all here to live life in the best way possible. Self-awareness teaches us that we can lie to ourselves, and we do regularly. We lie to people. We say we're fine when in fact we're really struggling. For me, empowerment is about being truthful to yourself and to the people that ask. Yes, they don't need to hear the history of what you're feeling or what's going on in your life, but it's better to say, well, actually, it's not brilliant, but I'm dealing with it, or it's getting better, thanks very much, than saying I'm fine. Because without awareness, how can you deal with what's really going on for you? How do you acknowledge that your body is telling you something as much as your ego is telling you something? That you're out of balance between what you're thinking, what you're saying, and actually what you're feeling. And if you do that often enough, your health suffers, as I discovered, as so many others have discovered, going through nervous breakdowns, through depression, anxiety, panic attacks. That's your body telling you something is out of balance, is out of harmony. So what you're thinking and what you're saying is not necessarily true to what you're feeling. And with self-love, self-awareness, trust and respect of self, you can start to improve your health. You can improve your wealth. You can certainly improve your relationships. And one thing I learned through my experience of my family was when I started to listen to myself and the things I was saying and recognizing what I was doing and how little I was actually giving to myself, my life began to change. But the reactions that I had from other people started to change. I become happier within myself. And I know that going through my breakdown and working with clients that have been through breakdowns and then starting to help heal them in a way that's appropriate for them, that they began to realize that they could find peace within, that they felt calmer, that there was less noise in their world, in the sense of there was less criticism going on within their own thoughts. That inner voice they have that criticizes was reduced considerably. Emotionally, they were more able to deal with their emotions because they understood what was really going on for them. And when you understand yourself, when you know yourself, and you start to actually put yourself first by doing things that give you love to you, that top you up in ways that you need to be topped up emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually, your life becomes better. You're able to say no more often. and know that it's right to say no for you without the guilt trips. Or you value yourself enough to say, actually, this is the value I am giving and I deserve to be paid for it. So many women undercharge for what they do, which doesn't allow them to have the kind of life they deserve. And when you start to respect yourself, you start to find that you can charge more. You can do things that you wouldn't have done because now you're worthy of them. You're deserving of them. And you also validate yourself. You don't need somebody else to say, well done. You know when you've done a good job. You know when things are right for you because you sense them within yourself. And because you have that quietness of mind and peace within your heart, you can start to see life differently. You can start to experience life differently. There's more joy, there's more fun, more laughter. And there's a lot more smiles and love and enjoyment of everything you do. So the next time you're overthinking, overwhelmed, ask yourself, do I love myself enough to respect my decisions, to value myself? When you do that, you'll realize whether you are loving yourself or whether you're giving your love away for validation from others. That's it for this week. I hope you gain from this, and I look forward to speaking with you again.